All right. Howdy, folks. It is Jordan, aka Lambda, coming at you again. It's been a couple weeks. I appreciate those of you who subscribed. It is super crazy to see the reach that I have, so I really appreciate it again. The last couple weeks, I've been MIA because we moved to a new house. It is gorgeous. I love it. And in doing so, I had the opportunity to create my dream office and studio. There are some cool little Easter eggs in here that's going to make it even easier and better to create content for y'all. So I'm super excited about that. Recently, I've also been talking with some super wonderful individuals, and we're going to do some interviews with them. We're going to learn some new things, and all that technical content is going to be coming in the next week or two. So stay tuned for that. Today, however, we're going to do something a little bit more fun, something that's been on my mind. I think I thought about it during the move. I was moving all those boxes, just laughing. So, today, we are going to explore the magic of programming. A motif that I've often mentioned before is how much programming is similar to magic. In fact, a quote that you'll often find me peddling, and it even used to be on my resume for a while, is people create programs to direct processes. In effect, we conjure the spirits of the computer with our spells. From, you guessed it, SICP! And if you haven't heard of SICP, check out my other videos because I talk about it way too much for somebody who isn't an old MIT professor. I recommend you check it out though. So, if software engineers are magicians and writing code is performing magic, that leaves one question. What houses are we in?
Where you ought to be. You might belong in Gryffindor, where dwell the brave at heart. Their daring nerve and chivalry set Gryffindors apart. You might belong in Hufflepuff, where they are just and loyal. Those patient Hufflepuffs are true and unafraid of toil. Or yet in wise old Ravenclaw, if you've a ready mind, where those of wit and learning will always find their kind. Or perhaps in Slytherin you'll make your real friends. Those cunning folk use any means to achieve their ends. So put me on, don't be afraid, and don't get in a flap. You're in safe hands, though I have none, for I'm a thinking cat.
Yeah, that's right. Since we're talking about magic, I had to bring up Harry Potter. So if you were born under a rock and you've since stayed there, the Harry Potter world features these houses that students are sorted into during their first year at Hogwarts. They sit under the sorting hat, and the sorting hat reads their inner trueness and sorts them into houses. Houses are super important to them because they stay in them through their entire education at Hogwarts. So, in the programming world, we don't really have to cohabitate with our fellow devs, thank gosh. But we do share a significant amount of time in our respective tech ecosystems, which are largely dependent on our programming languages and our styles. So here is my personal take on which programming languages are different houses at Hogwarts. So while we're on the topic, yes, J.K. Rowling is still totally canceled. We don't like J.K. Rowling. I am on board with that. Nothing I am doing here today condones J.K. Rowling and her personal opinions in any way, shape, or form. Sometimes you need to learn to separate an artist from their art, and that's what I'm doing here today. So hopefully for the sake of fun content and relatability, we can brush that aside and just all agree. So we'll start with Hufflepuff. Hufflepuff values hard work, patience, justice, and loyalty. I would say this is pretty similar to C++ and Java. Both of these languages are often taught as a part of any standard computer science curriculum in school, and all that blood, sweat, tears, and Adderall binges by young students just trying to make a name for themselves, staying up late nights, aren't just for nothing. If you learn these languages and you're loyal to them, you are guaranteed to get a job. They are widely practiced and commonly known. They may not be the fanciest or the trendiest of languages, but that's not what Hufflepuff is about. Both are solid investments of time and will prove very valuable throughout any programmer's career. All right, on to Ravenclaw. Ravenclaw values intelligence, learning, wisdom, and wit. I would say this is pretty similar to Haskell, scheme, racket, small talk. You know, all those languages that you always wanted to actually spend the time to learn, but never actually did. But one day you'll get to it. I'm sure you will. One day you'll master it. These are all languages that have a place in higher education. Sometimes there'll be a class or two at a university. A lot of times it's what the academics talk about, and it's really, really great for learning and teaching. You won't often see that code in production, though. There's probably a reason. I don't know it. But I think that fits pretty nicely into Ravenclaw. I'll say another honorary mention goes to all those framework, no work devs out there. Work smart, not hard. That's what I always say. I do say that. But all that learning you put in, all that time you put in, all the hours scrolling Reddit, you're clever folk. You're deeply committed to learning all the new hotness and all the edgy frameworks. And you're the ones that actually get to figure out what we use because you parse through all of the crappy ones. And then you post to Reddit so we know about the good ones. So thank you. You're a better person than I am. I appreciate your love of learning. All right, let's see what's next. Slytherin. We value ambition, cunning, leadership, and resourcefulness. I say we because I myself am a Slytherin. And we're not just the evil house, okay? It is said that Slytherins will do anything to get their way. Because of that, I'm gonna have to give it a JavaScript. JavaScript is a front-end powerhouse that will do anything to get its way. Speaking of leadership, JavaScript is literally the line leader. Since it's the only front-end language and everything. Front-end, line leader. There's a pun in there. I'll let you figure it out. Anyway, talking about resourcefulness. Let me tell you, if there's something to be done, JavaScript can do it. Not saying it'll necessarily be pretty, but JavaScript can do it. Single page application? Done. Mobile app? Absolutely. Desktop app? All the way. Video games? We got Blender. We got all sorts. We got in-browser games. You guys remember Farmville? I was in JavaScript. I'm sure it was. JS got you. No matter what you're doing. Did you know that you can even create an entire smart house system using only JavaScript? Not sure I'd want to live in that smart house, but like I said, it can be done. And you only know a front-end language because you only took one class in Udacity, but you got some back-end needs. Introducing Node.js for when you can't be bothered to learn a back-end language. Yeah! JavaScript is a great language and it is widely used. I'm sure y'all know what house is next. We've now reached everybody's favorite home team. Bye, Professor McGonagall. Gryffindor values courage, bravery, nerve, and chivalry. Tell you what, it's a really tough choice. No, just kidding. Closure! I mean, to even access the entry point for Closure, a brave knight needs to battle several interrupts, tooling woes, and dependencies. And to do this, he can reference our handy guide, literally called Closure for the Brave and True. I mean, when it comes to ClojureScript, you basically need to learn like 4 frameworks to even attempt to write Hello World. You've got to pick Line Again Boot or Clojure CLI tools, Shadow, CLJS, or Figwheel, and then get 10x hooked in there if you want to. If you're using Emacs, you got to figure out Emacs, and if you're in Emacs, you got to use Cider. You need Calva and Cursive if you're using IntelliJ, and all these startups are totally different. So you have to have some courage to break into this world. And while you're at it, you might as well add Hiccup, Reagent Garden, CLJS, Ajax, and DataScript while you're at it. Might as well just get a complete project in there. So it's got to be pretty brave to venture into our world. But once you're there, it's worth it, my friends. I invite you to join me on the journey to become a Gryffindor, the house you always wanted to be in, but they always put you in Hufflepuff for some reason. No, just kidding. Hufflepuff is great. I love Hufflepuff. My best friend is a Hufflepuff. Now, I will say, another contestant for Gryffindor, another champion, if you will, is Python. Because if we're talking about heroes, this is the time for Python to get involved. And as much as I wanted to put this bad boy in Slytherin, the true place for everybody's favorite language is Gryffindor. Why? Because Python is for the people. And by actually being accessible to the common muggle, Python has helped to flourish so many magical careers over the years. Its popularity is soaring. I love that I can give honest advice to those looking to get into programming. I tell them, start off by learning a little Python. See if you like it. And I don't feel guilty for leading them to a slow and painful death. It's great. And I haven't even mentioned all the tools and libraries, especially when it comes to data science. I mean, between Matplotlib, Pandas, TensorFlow, and NumPy, and yes, I know it's NumPy, but I like the word NumPy. Sorry. But there are so many different ways to implement an array. It's amazing. So I'll have to say Gryffindor is probably tied between Python and Clojure because these are the champions of at least my programming world. I do have to admit, I'm a little biased though. So in conclusion, those are how I see the different programming languages and their associated Harry Potter houses. Hi, Professor McGonagall. Hi. Let me know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? And I also want to know what house you're in. Like I said, I am a proud Slytherin. My partner is a Ravenclaw, and my best friend is a Hufflepuff. So, got her all around the board over here. Next week, we will have some really exciting, more technical Clojure content. I've been speaking with some really amazing individuals, and I look forward to seeing y'all next week. All right, bye. Poof. Bye.